Hello and welcome to Featured Flights. I'm your host, Darren Varell. This show is about art and how it inspires, evolves, and changes the lives of an audience as it moves through time. I'm not just interested in the work, but also the people who make it. Today, I'm speaking with Nate Hanazewski. Nate is a longtime friend, musician, chef, and father. Nate and I grew up in the Chicago music scene and often crossed paths on stages and friend circles as he performed with his band Sig Transit Gloria and me with the Scissors. Nate, it's nice to have you on the show, and thank you for taking time to speak with your old pal today.
Hey, D, good to see you, man.
Good to see you, man. Oh, man. You know, it's funny. I don't even know where in the world you are right now. It's been a while since we've talked to each other.
Yeah, I know. It's just passing texts whenever we think about each other, which is awesome to have at a minimum. But I'm in Nantucket, Massachusetts. I've been here full time since like 2015.
Wow.
Yeah, I started coming and working here seasonally in 2013, and I was about gone. Was never going to come back, but I met my wife here, and
yeah, that always inspires a move, doesn't it?
Life happens,
So. Oh, 100%. That's why I'm in Los Angeles for the most part. My girlfriend lives here, so I was like, hey, at some point, I think I could move. I think I could try, and now I love it here too. Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great. Yeah, you look great. It's cool. I love the art in the background.
Yeah, I'm sitting in part of our dining room at the restaurant here. So.
Oh, you're at the restaurant. Okay, so I know you're super busy, so I really appreciate that you made some time for this.
No, it's good. We're like I said, we're a seasonal restaurant, so we open in about 2.5 weeks now.
What's the name of the restaurant? I remember the one before, but I think you might have changed.
Yeah, this is the Proprietor's Bar and Table. I've been here about 6 years now. So.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So what is your position over there?
I'm the head chef. Oh,
you're the head chef. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And partner. So.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. See, that's what I mean. We haven't talked in a while. I'm going to get to it. So the format, by the way, just amazing to talk to you. Sorry that it has to be recorded, but I thought this is such a good opportunity because we haven't talked to each other in a while. So I thought it'd be interesting for people to hear a little bit of the story, especially because of the time that's passed between, you and I actually being in a room together.
I know.
But yeah, so I asked some questions, and I let everybody know because you don't know what those questions are going to be. And I like to write the questions based on how I know the person or how I don't know them. And sometimes if the question can be a little much or it's something you don't want to answer, like, please feel free. You don't have to. I can cut things around, whatever. But for the most part, it's pretty easy, and it just usually just sparks the conversation. So
awesome.
So I'm going to go right into the first one then. It's so great to see you. And I know that art is something that we share.
Yes.
And art, it can be a lot of different things. It can be a hobby, it can be an outlet, a business. And for some, it's a way of life. And I've known you as a musician ever since we met, but I'd like to start by asking you about something I'm not so familiar with, your career as a chef.
Yeah.
And what is it about being a chef that called to you, and how did you make your way into cooking as a career?
Well, in the early 20s of my life, I was still playing music and, kind of hopping from job to job, trying to find what I was passionate about. A few of my friends were chefs at the time. It was something I never really thought I could do as a career, but I was a huge hobby cook at home. I would pick up cookbooks at the library or, from the bookstore, and just kind of absorb everything. And, I would make these elaborate meals that would take me way longer than anybody was willing to wait for them. But, I just quickly became a perfectionist with it. And then I went to culinary school. I think I was 26, maybe, which was a little late to start cooking. So I kind of threw my feet in the fire, and I put myself in the hardest positions I could possibly be. My first job was a 3 Michelin star restaurant in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So after getting yelled at for days and days and weeks, and, the first 6 months I was there, it was like my externship from culinary school. So I didn't get paid.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of heat to be not paid. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, still live at home with a girlfriend at the time and not be able to contribute financially, but it was for the, greater good. So it's a lot of sacrifice and a lot of time. I would work from 8 a.m. till, midnight, just to try to get better at my craft and prove myself. And then after moving from restaurant to restaurant, it just became part of me. I knew this is what I wanted to do, and I
really loved it.
Yeah, there was no turning back. I could have picked more financially lucrative careers.
Couldn't we all?
Especially in the beginning. And then, when I first moved away from Chicago, right before I turned 30, I went to Philadelphia to work with someone that you and I both know, Anthony D'Arienzo.
Yeah.
Who he's probably one of the most talented cooks I've ever been around, and also one of my best friends. So it was a no-brainer to go, join with him, and my growth just went crazy. I learned everything I possibly could from him and the people around us, and eventually found my way here. So
sounds like so much like the Bear right now as I'm hearing this story, like the Michelin and all of that stuff, and then hearing you kind of moving it, it sounds like this career has taken you to different places, which maybe you wouldn't have experienced without that, like going to Philadelphia and kind of being out of your comfort zone. I think what the good thing is when I talk with folks, that's the stuff I love to hear, because I want people to know, it is scary, right? It is scary to do those things. I mean, I waited a while too. I waited till I was 40 to come out to Los Angeles, and I should have done it earlier. I don't have any regrets, but at the same time, there is something in you that just feels comforted in your home space, and that, okay, well, I maybe, and again, you could be making a paycheck and it could be keeping you, and you're like, oh, but this is safe, this is comfortable, but it's possible. You're living proof of that, and I love that. And yeah, again, you found your own way. You've got a family, you live there, and you got a job you love because you took that chance. Yeah,
I mean, I miss Chicago so much, where you and I grew up, but I often think about just the smallest life decision and where it goes, had I never moved to Philadelphia, what would have happened in Chicago? Had I never met the guy who brought me to Nantucket, I would have never met my wife, and I would have never had my daughter, So it's just this crazy headspace to get into when you're thinking about, what little things led you to where you are now,
Yeah, I love that. Is cooking, well, I'm pretty sure that I know the answer to this, but is cooking a creative outlet for you? And how would you compare it, if at all, to being a musician? Are there any similarities?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you look through a lot of people in the culinary industry, a lot of them have music backgrounds, or at least just heavily engaged in music and other arts. I mean, from being a musician, it's kind of funny because I was trying to think about what kind of questions you were going to ask me. And a lot of what led me to stop pursuing music as a career was I was a little lazy with it, I think. And this doesn't really give you the opportunity to do that. I mean, I'm in the restaurant way more than my family would like me to be. But I think it's what keeps me, what's the right way to say this? I don't know. I think that there's an energy.
Maybe it keeps you responsible in a way or something.
Yeah, responsible. But I think the level of activity that I do on a day-to-day basis, just in the restaurant, I think it keeps, my mind moving. I think, physically, I I have a 4-year-old daughter, so I have to be plenty active,
Yeah.
Thank God I didn't have a boy, but
Be playing a lot more football or something like that. Yeah, in the yard.
But she gives me a run for my money. But yeah, I think the similarities to the creative process with music is, with music and still, even though I haven't recorded anything in quite a while, like these things pop into my head, and it's the same thing with cooking. It could just be the littlest idea. I mean, I can look at something outside, and it'll spark an idea just as if it would spark the idea for a song, a conversation you had with somebody, something you saw on TV or read in a book, so a lot of it's very parallel,
Yeah.
And I think, like, when I look at the creations that we do in the restaurant or even at home or whatever culinarily, it's, you can kind of construct it the same as if you were writing a song,
Yeah, no, totally. And by the way, I didn't mean to say that your daughter wouldn't have been into football, but I just figured that, like, boys and girls, they have different activities or energy levels, I suppose,
Oh yeah.
But yes, with the idea of music, like, I love to cook. I think that's something people don't know much about me. And my girlfriend and I, we spend a lot of time, and she doesn't really cook as much. So she, like, really loves it when I do. And I like it because I get to be creative. But I also, kind of creativity and creation for me in general just makes me feel like close to God, whatever that means to you, right?
Yeah.
It keeps you, like, less anxiety, less depressed, and like really centered and focused into something, which I feel like that's the closest to God you can be. And cooking is so much like that, and I imagine in a fast-paced environment like that, you don't have much time to think about anything except for the job at hand. And that's kind of amazing.
Yeah. And it's funny that it stretches for like a 12 to 15 to 16 hour day,
Yeah, but it probably goes fast, right?
Oh God. Yeah. It flies.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. There's certain hours during the day that just seem to disappear. Here at the restaurant, we get in the morning and we do all of our prep and get ready for the day. And then at like 3:00, we kind of have this little breakdown of the kitchen where, things get straightened up and organized and cleaned. But like 3 to 4 o'clock just absolutely disappears. And
yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
That's kind of like how I feel about the same thing with painting. It's like all of a sudden you look at your watch and you're like, whoa, like 3 hours went by.
Yeah. I know.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. I love that. Cause, like I said, one other thing I do, is I like kind of look at the things that I'm cooking with, right? Like a carrot or something. And I just wonder in my head, where did this come from? Somebody cultivated this and grew it, and it had a life of its own, and now, like, it gets to be part of my life. And there's something beautiful about that too, just like the experience of being so connected. I think as I get older, I do that more. I think more about things, if I'm on a walk, like, how did this leaf grow? At some point when I was sleeping, it budded, it's like maybe it sounds a little hippie-ish, but it's kind of amazing, isn't it?
We have conversations often in the kitchen, like, who was the first person that saw a chicken lay an egg and like, oh yeah, I can eat that, or,
right.
Whatever crazy fruit comes out of a tree or a bush, like, let's take a chance. It could kill me.
It could kill me. It could be poisonous. Yeah.
And then even beyond that, like, okay, so you take something like an egg, and then how many different ways can you cook that egg? And then the egg you can turn into mayonnaise or what other sauces, I mean, it's just the evolution of one simple little thing and what it can turn into and what you can do with it, that kind of helps me stay connected to all those things too. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to get into a little bit with the music.
All right.
We'll kind of dip into things like, I might go back to the cooking and some of the last questions, but I just wanted people to get to know you a little bit and how we know each other.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where these questions come from. So the Villa Park music scene was ripe for the picking in 2000s, and your band Sig Transit Gloria rocketed to the top of the list and was sought after band by many labels. Indie labels like Johann's Face, where you guys first started, and they set you up on a successful course which wasn't long before Drive Through Records offered you a contract, which you guys famously turned down.
Yeah.
The emo scene was thriving, and keyboard core, which your band had a keyboard and featured, was the next pretty big thing going on. Some bands wait a lifetime to have that kind of hype around them that you guys did. Could you give the audience listening a little understanding of what it was like to have that kind of success so early on and how it impacted your life?
Yeah. I don't know if we knew at the time how quickly that was going to happen. We liked what we were doing. We were all friends. The start of the band, we had a different drummer, Dave Tirio from Plain White Tees, was drumming for us in the beginning. And then Pat Kilbride came along, and it kind of shifted a little bit, kind of the vibe of the band. So I think, it got a little edgier, just because of his playing.
Yeah, he's a little more raw.
Yeah. But man, I don't know. We recorded like a 4-track recording with, our friend Mike Herboth, and, some people got to hear it. And then, we met with Mark from Johan's Face, and, it just kind of quickly kept going. But we played every possible show we could possibly play in the Chicagoland area. So, that really kind of solidified, that we were out there, and, we built our following quickly that way. But yeah, I honestly don't know what led to that quick success, other than we were always out there. We were fun on stage, catchy tunes, and, we had a great support group around us, people like yourself, and, a lot of the friends that we grew up with. They were always just kind of pounding the pavement and helping us flyer and telling people. We put stickers everywhere you're not supposed to put stickers.
Still do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you guys, from my perspective, had something that is rare when all of the members come together and they kind of have their own creativity that just gels together. And sometimes that connection just really, really shows off in the live show or the musicality. Mm-hmm. Like, we'll get into it in a bit, but Jason was always making those shows for the audience's perspective, like a real big party. And that was another thing that was fun. It was fun to come see you guys because of that. But then the songs were great. And then the extra level of melody with the keyboard, it was something I don't think a lot of us had seen before. So yeah, to have all of the right elements at the right time just seemed like it happened for you guys. Because, like, from my perspective, my band has never had, I would say, that kind of success. What we love playing, and there was nothing wrong with it, though. Different walks of life for each musician. But when something is that, like, it could be a business for me. Like, we talked about Drive Through. Like, they're like, we see something in this band where we can put dollar signs behind it. That's kind of like a weird spot to be in your early 20s.
Yeah. And I think we were still kids. I think we just had different priorities, and like I mentioned, I'm not speaking for Jason or Mike or Pat, but I think as a band, we love to get together and play. We love to get together and write songs. Made a shit ton of noise in Jason's mom's basement night after night after night. But did we really work at it? I think had we been given the opportunity to make that our job, I think we were given the opportunity. Had we chosen the opportunity to make that our job, we would have gotten a lot better, at our instruments, at our craft. Songwriting, Jason and I still talk about it every once in a while. We'll listen to stuff. He texted me on the 25th anniversary of 2000, and
20 years from that, huh?
Yeah, 25 now.
Oh, 25. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
I know.
I wasn't born yet, Nate. So,
but he, he's like, why didn't we have backing vocals on every single song? Because he and I harmonized so well together and our voices just really worked well together, which was a key component of the band. But, at some point we just kind of, I don't know, it just didn't follow through on everything that we could have. But, that's what happens when you're kids,
Yeah, I'm just reminded of a line. I guess it's on Wide Open Windows, which is a song off the record that Nate just talked about. You like the pillows I can smell you on so well. Oh, fuck, man. I mean, I listened to that the other day when I was walking around, and I just thought about like that is what it feels like to be young and in love.
Yeah.
Like someone leaves and you're just have those butterflies about you, and that person stays in the room through that scent on the pillow. I think that's another reason why you guys were so successful. And kudos to you for writing lyrics like that. That was something that I've always admired about songwriters, because it is such a poetry to connect to people's experiences in life through writing lyrics like that. I always write like kind of jokey lyrics or stuff, or sometimes I try to be too deep and it just doesn't really gel the same way. But there's people like jawbreakers like that. There's like lyrics you just really feel as a human being.
Yeah, don't sell yourself short. I love your songs.
Well, thank you. Yeah, but those songs, I mean, that was the first EP that you put together, and that was a smash.
Yeah, I mean, there was, that was pretty personal. We used to talk a lot about like, okay, are we going to still play Don't Come In when, we're 40? Just because of the lyrics were just like, you're definitely 18,
Yeah. But Tom Higginson is still playing Hey There, Delilah. Yeah. And it's not like that song is probably something I've talked to him about it before. And I'm like, hey, how do you feel? You have to play that every night. He's like, I feel great about it. He's like, yeah, of course. That made my life, and I'm happy to play it anytime. But yeah, does he feel that way about that girl anymore? Probably not, so.
Pat, our drummer, used to joke, probably want to say like somewhere in between the time of like recording the full length record and we had recorded some other songs for splits or a comp or something like that. And he was like, man, we need to get you another girlfriend and make sure she breaks up with you really fast. So that
I know we say that about TLB all the time. Like, I'm way too happy right now to write another breakup record,
I know.
Yeah, but those are really good, man. And I don't even know if we should get into pull You Closer, but that's one of my favorite songs you've ever written.
Thank you.
That's off a later record. And when we get there, we can talk about it if you want to. So do you have any favorite memories of that time? Is there, maybe you could just say one if either one comes to mind.
Well, when you were talking about how Jason always used to make the shows so for the fans, I want to say it was like our first reunion show. I don't remember how long the break was.
Okay, because that's memorable to me. I was going to bring it up. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Beat Kitchen, right?
Yep.
It was hot as hell. I was severely overweight at the time for some reason or another. But Jason had made these...
Trying too much of the food you've been cooking, probably.
Yeah. Jason had made these caricatures of all of us, the band members, and put them on sticks. So the whole show, there's people with our faces going up and down, dancing in the crowd with the caricatures. That's one that definitely sticks out. A little bit.
How did that feel seeing that from the stage? Was that?
It's a blast because you just know you're with all your friends, like that's why it was like never nerve wracking getting on stage. Never, there was no anxiety. There was no like you couldn't help but have fun because we were just surrounded by all the people that we knew and loved, Mm-hmm. Or, at least we're having fun along with us,
Yeah, no, that I was going to bring up that show because that's super stuck in my mind. And to the audience listening, that was like, as Nate said, that was one of the first reunion shows that Sig Transit Gloria had done. So a while after they had broken up, they kind of got together and did that show. And yes, everybody went crazy, loved that show.
But the two big ones in Chicago that really stick out to me, I should probably say three. There was the whole Villa Park takeover of the Metro. That was pretty fun. Mm-hmm. Show off. Backdrop.
Yeah.
Us, and Off Yourself.
Yeah. Wow. What a bill, huh?
I know.
I still have photos from that. I remember like taking over was the right word. But like, I remember in the backstage, it was like chaos.
Yeah. And I don't think anyone really realized like, I mean, we did the Villa Park versus Elmhurst comp, but like such a concentration of talent came out of those two towns that were right next door to each other.
Yeah.
Not to say that everywhere else in Chicago didn't have talented bands too, but it was just, we were surrounded by it,
Totally. Mr. Fritz used to always say to me when we get together, he's like, something in the water over there.
Yeah, right.
Park,
And then the other one, I mean, any of the big Fireside shows, we opened for the anniversary. Actually, one of I think it was our record release show. That was the first time that like they had to turn people away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was a pretty good feeling. I mean, not that those people couldn't come see us.
No, but yes, of course. As a band, it feels pretty good to know that you're going to have a packed house and they're all there to see you. And there's people that are waiting outside. It's only happened to me once, and that was at the B Kitchen when we played the Scissors. We had to turn people away for that in like 2010. And I was like, oh my God, did we make it? Did we finally make it? Holy shit.
Well, and the biggest one was we had just come off of our first tour when things were like really kind of ramping up, especially in the Midwest and in Chicago. And it was my birthday, and we headlined and sold out the Metro.
And that's a huge deal for anyone listening in Chicago to sell out the Metro. That's a really big deal.
Yeah. What is it? 1,300 people or something like that?
Yeah. Maybe more. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. But my dad came and introduced us.
Awesome.
It was pretty silly, but that was a huge one. So it was a lot of fun.
Very cool. Yeah, that's great to have those kind of memories. We'll talk a little bit more about like legacy in a little bit, because I'm interested in knowing. I haven't talked to you in a while. I don't know how you feel about things these days. And I love having this conversation, because a lot of times, my brother does a podcast too, and it's cool, but I always feel like, well, I know I love it.
It's cool, but
I get the vibe from you that you're kind of like me. I don't really live in the past too much, and it's nice to talk about this because there's connections between people, and I think that's what Eric's podcast is a lot, is like connecting the dots of stuff. But I'm very interested in what you're doing now, and that's why I wanted to open it up about the chef stuff, because I think the evolution of somebody who is like us that makes music, like what happens after, right. or does it, or do you continue? And it's always different. But okay, so there's only a few more questions left. Do you guys still have time? I don't want to take too. Okay. So we're halfway through, and I want to know if there is anything you would have done differently had you given the chance with Sig Transit Gloria.
Yeah. I mean, the hard part about a band is it's never up to you. I mean, Jason's 2 years older than me, so he was probably, 22, in love, didn't want to go on the road. Mike had so many different interests. Pat was pretty gung ho about just playing music and making that the thing. But yeah, I don't know. I think there was a level of maturity that as a band that we needed to have, not as human beings, but I don't know. I would have liked to see where it would have went, but again, like you said, I don't like to live in the past that much,
But to me, I get what you're saying completely, because it's tough. I was so ingrained in being sort of like the leader of the bands always, right? Like, and when we did TLB, it was great because Tom is so good. And I was like, oh my God, I don't have to be the lead, you know what I mean? And it was really nice that way. But there's just a dynamic in every band. And it's not like in the Scissors, I minded that. I kind of, to a large degree, I probably would have had a problem if somebody like tried to do anything more, but again, that's what you're saying, levels of maturity. But then when I became an artist, I said, oh, nobody else. just me. And then for the last 4 years, I've been out here on my own, and it's fucking lonely, dude.
Yeah.
You know, and it's difficult, but I miss the days of doing things with people together, which is half of the point of doing what I'm doing now, is like connecting with you. It's a shame I haven't talked to you in a while. I know life happens, but this is nice. It's a nice excuse for us to be able to sit down and kind of catch up. And this, at least, I can do with somebody else, because like as you get older, you know, it's harder to do the bands, right? But you, every day, probably as a chef, you get to have your band. You've got a band. You know, everybody. You rely on everybody, right?
I do, and you know, for years after the music thing had kind of come to a halt, you know, I was like, well, I mean, my guitars are always around me, and I'm always picking them up, even if it's for 5 minutes. You know, sure, there's giant stretches in between. You know, I still go back and play, you know, songs from years ago, or just melodies that I've been working on for a decade. Yeah. You know, but I always had this thought that like, well, maybe I could just like record something on my own. But I realized like I needed the band, you know, like, sure, I can write songs by myself, but they're not going to be anything close to what they could be unless I'm collaborating with Jason or, you know, whoever. But yeah, so, you know, in my world now, in the kitchen that I run, you know, every interview, every person that I bring in here, everyone that comes to work for me, you know, they quickly realize that like, this is a collaboration. Like, my name's not on the menu. I don't give a shit about accolades for me. And I want this environment to be a fun, creative outlet for everybody, you know? So we, you know, change the menu so many times. I mean, my manager gets so pissed off at me because every day it's something, you know? And like, we're constantly running specials, and I really like coax these guys, like, you know, I really want you to work on this or anything that you want to, you know. I try to make it, it's like, you know, if you wanted to come to work and do the exact same thing every day, then you just work in a factory. And I don't want this to feel like a factory. And then on my end, when I'm creating, you know, I want their feedback. We taste everything together, and you know, I want them to tell me what their thoughts are, if we can make this better, if there's something missing, if there's too much. So yeah, it's, again, very collaborative. So it's like being in a band again, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, as like the Nate of today, like, sounds like you'd have a lot more to bring to a Sig Transit Gloria or any music that you would do now, because you've had all of these experiences in the culinary world where you've had to do things like this. And you said it earlier, just from my perspective, that you were a little more lazy with the music. Like, I feel like these days you wouldn't be like that, because you have had that experience maybe.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, I think life teaches you, how to work and how to adapt and how to keep your head above water, in everything, you know. I mean, not just professionally, but even in personal life, you know, like, I have a 4-year-old. It's not easy. You know, anyone whose parents, they go through those times where it's like, you literally want to throw yourself out the window because you can't figure out how to solve this problem.
I know. I'm surprised I turned on the camera and you had your hair still. It's like, it's crazy. Yeah. Okay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nate.
No, it's okay.
I was going to go into the next question if you had something else to say, please.
No, I think, I mean, just, you know, as we reach this period of our lives, you know, you tend to look back and you're like, okay, well, yeah, had I done this now, I mean, I think there'd be a lot more educated decisions. And
why is it always like the young person's game? Always, you know, it's like we don't know shit, you know.
Yeah, but at the same time,
a good thing. I don't know.
At the same time, look at all of these bands that are like living off the nostalgia thing now, you know, like Jawbreaker coming back and constantly touring. I mean, Guns N' Roses has been on tour for the last 6 years. Like, they don't stop, true. You know. But, you know, I think when you're young, like, there's a certain fire, you know, and that can lead to, you know, strife within the group, because being in a band, as you know, it's not easy.
Yeah.
But I think as you get older, I think, you know, you tend to be a little bit more patient, a little bit more empathetic. So yeah, who knows? Like,
yeah, getting that concoction of that like energy of being youthful. And yeah, again, for the most part, most people who are in their 20s don't have kids yet. And, you know, life things, mortgages, like they're coming off that time when they're still like living with their parents for the most part. So there's like that freedom to, you know, and as you get older, that's goes away more, but you do become smarter. So it's like, how do you meet in the middle there? So,
I know.
but you guys did do a reunion, and you did make another record. So after you guys, when would you say you guys broke up? 2002?
Yeah.
Okay. So you did a record called Okay Later in 2011. And during that time, you know, the reunion shows were going on. And I specifically remember attending a show at the Bee Kitchen that was exceptional. We just talked about it. Everyone drenched in nostalgia. They missed you guys, and it was clear. And after that show, I remember talking to you at Sub T. Do you guys, maybe the last show you guys ever played, I think.
That was the last one. That was right before I moved to Philadelphia.
So. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So in that time frame, you said something to me that's stuck with me. And it was to the effect of not a lot of people showed up for the show like they did at the first one. You might not even remember saying that to me, but I remember seeing you were kind of like, this show is not like the first one. It was like a little looser. Not that people didn't show up, but it wasn't like that energy of the first one. And I've kind of always walked around with that memory. I recalled it as recently as the last Scissor show we did in September.
Okay.
And we were doing a reunion show at the Cobra Lounge, and there's like this excitement around nostalgia. And again, the Scissors weren't as popular, I would think, as Sig Transit Gloria was, but there's still an excitement for your friends and family and people that are there. But like anything, if you get too much of it, it can be taken for granted, I think.
Yeah.
And my question is this, what do you see for your music career going forward? And does it fit into your life anymore? If another opportunity to perform came up, would you pursue it?
Yeah, with those guys, of course. I think we kind of joked through text the other day. You know,
I kind of knew the answer to that question before I asked it.
Yeah. You know, Jason teased a reunion for the 25th anniversary, but again, life, and I live nowhere near those guys. Not to say that we couldn't put that together, but yeah, I'd absolutely relish the idea.
I mean, it's like something I feel like I would fly back for, you know, it's like something that people would love. I know that. Yeah.
You know, and I think if we could put enough time and energy into it, we could make it even more special than what people might realize, at least in my brain. But, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. And that Sub T thing too, like I said, I think at that time, maybe it's like was, a culmination of like you trying to figure out your life at that time and what was next, you know, and maybe, I mean, I don't want to speak for you or any of the guys, but like that first Bee Kitchen show, I can't imagine you guys left that show without thinking like, this is it. Like, let's do this band again. Right.
I know, which is crazy because I'm trying to remember when it was. I think that first reunion show, I want to say it was like 2008. So I think it was still even time before.
Oh, Okay Later.
Before Okay Later happened. And Okay Later, I love that EP. You know, we recorded it. Mike Perkins was living in this crazy house that had a studio in the middle of it. So Mike recorded everything. You know, and we can come and go as we pleased. And it was just so much fun, and just the four of us like hanging out and getting to do that again. And again, at that point, like you can, if you listen to the songs, like there's so more thoughtfully constructed and produced because we were older and more talented and skilled and patient. And, you know, we worked at it. So it was kind of funny because it was like kind of a glimpse into what the band might have been.
Yeah.
but yeah, I love those songs so much. So that was a lot of fun. So.
I remember when I was going through my breakup, and kind of getting into TLB country, I listened to Pull You Closer a lot. And it was like, I'm feeling a little different now, but not anymore at ease. You said, I make you blush. This fucking line, Nate. You said, I make you blush, but does that mean to you what it means to me? I fucking cry right now thinking about that. And really special stuff, and I'm glad it's encapsulated. I talk about it all the time, with TLB and stuff like that. It was just so raw. It was like I had nothing to lose, and I just felt in a place where I could write those songs again. So like, in my opinion, maybe that's where the evolution of like these bands and reunions and things like that happened. It's like you couldn't write a song like Don't Come In maybe now because you're not that age, but you could write a song like Pull You Closer, right? In 2011, because that's the 2011 version of Nate. So what would that song be in 2025? It's like, it's kind of cool that way.
Wheels on the Bus meets Coco Melon.
Maybe that's good. So you got some of that youth coming into you,
my daughter and I, we dance around. She watches this silly Barbie cartoon on Netflix, and she knows every word of like the opening song, and it's this poppy dancey thing. And it's hilarious. I just like, it'll be silent in the house and I'll just like walk over to her and start singing the song, and then she gets up and starts singing the song and dancing. So it's a lot of fun. But
I know, I feel like a lot of people that I know that have children, they talk to me about that same thing. They're like, yeah, I'm watching a lot of Bluey. I'm watching a lot of, I'm like, oh, okay. It's kind of cool.
But yeah, I write a little bit here and there, whenever time allows. We're a seasonal restaurant, so I have a lot of time in the winter. And on this island that I live on in the winter, it's pretty bleak and gray and quiet. So maybe a little bit more melancholy stuff comes out. Mostly about how tired I am. Yeah.
I guess that's good that it's seasonal, so you get a little time to rest.
Yeah. But I don't know. I'd love to put something together to see what, this version of sounds like.
Well, if you don't have the songs, you can't do it. So keep writing.
Yeah. Well.
I'll be watching for it. This is a little off topic, but not really. I'm going to bring it up because you mentioned it through text the other day. But I know you mentioned DuPage County Hardcore Bandcamp, and to our listeners, that's a site that has posted most of the demos and albums from local bands from the 90s through 2000s. Nate's bands are on there, and my bands are on there as well. Mostly inactive bands, but some are still performing today. Yeah. Like I think there's some Plain White T's stuff on there.
There's Fall Out Boy stuff on there.
Fall Out Boy stuff, and to anybody. I'm sorry.
Lucky Boys, I think they're still playing shows.
Yep. And to anybody who's listening, we would make tapes or through our boom boxes or CDs we would burn, right? And so people have those still. I still have those in my attic and stuff like that. And at some point, Dave Hoff is the one who puts this together, right? Yeah. And he has all of these things and has digitized them and put them up online. So it's pretty amazing. But also it's and it's free to stream, to my knowledge. There's a donation program set up to download the catalog for $50. And there's a ton of bands and ton of musicians and stuff like on there. So it's a pretty good deal. Yeah. And I think it's a donation, but musicians seem to be split on the ethics of it all. And I just wondered if you have any issues with a site like this streaming your music.
No, absolutely not. No issue. Like you said, a lot of those bands are defunct. For me, that's a treasure chest, Yeah. That's like looking through the best photo album you could possibly find. It's like finding a family tree, It's
or a band that you played with that you would have never had the CD or it got ruined over time or lost, and then you're like, whoa, wait, goddamn, I love those songs. I can listen to it.
Yeah, and it's not just Sig Transit Gloria. Like basically everything I've recorded is on there. Open heart surgery stuff is on there. Things I did with Retro Morning. Your stuff, Scissors, Carbonas, Backdrop, like all that. It's just so cool, and it brings me back to, whenever I'm really wanting that sentimental nostalgia. I feel like that's my take on it. It's like, if anybody had a real problem with it, Dave would take that stuff down.
Of course he would. Yeah. But for the most part, what you're saying, it's such a great thing for it to exist in the first place. Now look, if I'm wanting to make money on this somehow and put it out myself, again, Dave would take it down. I'd talk to him and it would be fine. Yeah. But if not, like, what's the harm in it? It's not like he's making millions of dollars or anything like that. He's doing it because he wants everyone to have exposure to what we grew up with and what we loved. And for some of us to listen and for nostalgia purposes, but it's like a nice time capsule of that,
Of course. And I'm sorry, there's some construction.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
And as much of a hobby as it is for him, like, that's a lot of time invested,
Of course, yeah.
There's thousands of records out there. Yeah. And just like finding it, digging all that stuff up, I have no problem.
Right. Would you rather it existed or that it didn't at all, And
1000%.
That's, I think, the end question of it all, It's like, it's okay. I can barely hear it in here.
Okay, good. Yeah. They're like ripping up the street outside. So.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, cool. So that, I didn't want to sit on that for too much, but I figured I'd ask you since you brought it up.
No, if Dave ever listens to this, thank you so much for putting that up there, because it's so much fun. Sleepless nights, I just go on there. I was listening to like Dutch Oven and
totally. Yeah.
All that herbal flesh tea.
There was something I think up there that I don't know, Rotundo sent it to me. He loves it. He's always sending me, he's like, dude, remember this band or whatever? I'm like, yeah, totally. He's always sending me stuff from it. So it's kind of fun to spark a conversation with your friends too, like that, it's like, there's a lot of good things about it. Okay, so 3 more questions, if that's okay. And okay, I think something beautiful about time is that the distance makes the heart grow fonder. That's true for me anyway. It's fair to say that other than a few texts and some art exchange, you and I haven't been together in the same room for well over 10 years.
Yeah.
In that time you've had your daughter, you've become a head chef and a partner at your business, and amazing to see you doing so well. But even so, with the time that we did share together feels even more special as time marches on for me. And I contribute that to a couple of things. One, I get to see a little glimpse of what you're doing on social media from time to time as a doting father and successful chef. And that really makes me feel good, just to have a little blip into your life, even though we don't talk all the time. Mm-hmm. But the music you made is often in my ears, as we've talked about, and it brings me back to some special times in my life with you. And randomly I'll text you thinking of you with a screenshot of the song I'm playing. I wonder how you felt about your relationships you once had, and if you reflect on those sometimes. I would not assume that you don't talk to everybody still, but time has a way of kind of getting past us.
Yeah, it does. And it's unfortunate and kind of sad. Thank you for this, because I've missed you dearly over the years. I was thinking of, just the crazy shit that pops into my head, like, driveway hangs with you and Eric and his Monte Carlo, and, like all the dumb shenanigans we get into. We both grew up with such like a core group of friends, and some of them I still talk to regularly. Others just more sporadic and passing, but if we could hold on to those people forever, that'd be great. But, I moved halfway across the country, you moved halfway across the other side, so it's hard. And then, like you said, you get older and responsibility grows and careers and all those things. But I mean, I was so fucking jealous the other day. I saw, Weasel and Dan Nelson like at the Screeching Weasel show with Paul's, two grown boys now, and it's just
I know. I was like, wait a second, is that Paul? No, it's his kids. Yeah, I saw that too, and I loved it. I was like, seeing those guys at that show together, I was like, hell yeah, I would love to have been in that room with those guys.
Yeah, all of them, like Joe Carcello and Chris Mallon. Like I just miss that guy so much, but life just goes like this. Yeah. So maybe after this podcast, I'll send a rash of texts to a bunch of people.
Or you guys are just gonna have to get a reunion show going again, and then we'll all get together in the room, and that's the other thing about those things is like it is, and the Scissor show was like that in September. I got to see so many people I haven't seen in years, and yeah, so much life goes on, and when you're in those rooms, though, it doesn't feel like much time has passed. I mean, obviously, I'm looking at an older, mature Nate here, and I can tell you've grown a lot. I could tell you've had life experiences, but at the same time, I don't feel any differently about you than I did, 10 years ago or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You still look very young. So
yeah. I know this is a fuzzy monitor. So okay. So we got this whole thing going, and I think that, the biggest challenges that you faced along the way. And I just want to know if there's one that comes to mind. It could be in the music industry or your career is now. I mean, life is full of challenges, right? But if there's a big one that you've come across that you've been able to overcome, and are you proud of yourself for that?
Yeah. I mean, the most transformative part of my life, career, everything, was when I moved away from Chicago. Broke up with a longtime girlfriend, lived together, all that. So life just like took a complete 180, and decided to make the move away from a place that I called home for the first 29 years of my life. Everything I knew was there. Threw myself into, a brand new city, brand new situation, made a new group of friends and colleagues, but always like the want. I mean, Jesus Christ, I've been gone for 14 years since I moved away from Chicago.
Weird to hear you say it was you were 29 when you moved. 2011. It was right before I turned 30. I had my 30th birthday in Philly, like a month after I moved there. Yeah.
But
still a young man,
Yeah, but still all these years later, like, if I had the opportunity to move back to Chicago tomorrow and my family was okay with it, yeah, we'd go. I mean, I would want them to go. But, we've built a life here. We're super happy. This community's great. The island's challenging. But yeah, this is home. But
there's challenges everywhere though, right?
Yeah. But sometimes I just like want Taco Bell.
Or you want Portillo's.
Yeah, it's not here. White Castle, man. Like, love that shit. But I guess it was a challenge, but also like just like a big transformation, because like I was on my own, away from any support system. So I really had to just control my life on my own from that point forward. So
sounds like you are pretty proud of yourself for that.
Yeah. I mean, there's some other moments in there I wish I had done differently. We came close to resettling in the Midwest when we had Natalie. It was like COVID time.
Oh, sure.
And we moved back. My parents live in Wisconsin, and we moved back there. We just couldn't figure out how we were going to continue our lives here in Nantucket, having a child, not like everybody else on this island doesn't have kids or multiple.
Yeah. But it's a lot of questions come up when you have a kid. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I, work myself half to death, and my wife does the same thing. She has a home cleaning business. I don't think she takes a day off between April and December.
Wow, yeah.
But I mean, we have businesses, so we were it was like just post-COVID world. We were kind of freaking out, and how are we going to manage all of this? And we were looking for a simpler life. So yeah, we moved back to Wisconsin. We built a house. I got a job in what I thought was going to be a great situation for us. But we just quickly realized that wasn't for us. So we ended up back here.
Well, I would think that's also something to be proud of. Sometimes when you see something that's not right for you and you're able to move away from that, a lot of people can get into those situations and they don't make that decision, and then they're unhappy for the rest of their lives. So you should be proud of yourself for that too.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so there's 2 more questions, and they are, this one is a little personal. So you feel free to answer it how you like, or not at all.
Okay.
I know you're a very happy dad these days. I have yet to experience the joy of fatherhood myself, but of course I had a father, and I never got to experience what it was like to hear him talk about his musical background or love of creativity, amongst many other things. And I often think about that and wish I would have had more time to get to know the story of the man who made me.
Yeah.
So I wondered if you have shared any of your experiences with your daughter, or if you have seen any of your creativity in her.
Yeah, I wish the same thing for you. How old were you when your dad passed?
15.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't think I ever got to meet him, actually.
Yeah, not a lot of my friends did. I mean, and I barely did, and that's kind of the thing I'm talking about. Because I see you so much more now as like when we talk, especially on text. You are very proud of your daughter and everything. So I can tell. So that's why I kind of wondered that about that connection with her and sort of how your life and what you've experienced this far, and you as yourself is. How much you see coming out of her, like of yourself, and that kind of thing.
It's funny about getting into your 40s and, you have health things pop up or just aches and pains or headaches or whatever. You think about mortality a little bit, and especially when you have a child. So I'm constantly, it's not healthy, but, you think about how many years I have to, shape her, mold her, let her mold herself. But, like all those moments that you can share with a child. Am I going to be able to watch her, grow into an adult, all those things. But yeah, as a 4-year-old, she's insane, dude.
I mean, she musical?
She's very musical. She's super artsy. She draws, she paints, she makes every possible mess that she can make, which is, you can see it coming out. The mannerisms are hilarious. My wife just can't stop but like die laughing every time she does something, and it's exactly like me.
That's great.
But I do a lot of the same when she gives me attitude, just like her mom gives me. She won't listen to this, so I'm safe.
Well, it's cool because I know it's a version of the two of you, right? And so that's kind of the fun thing, is you can see both of you coming out, And I suppose this question might be better suited, maybe when she's 10 or something like that. But I just kind of love that, knowing my friends and I know and how I knew them when you weren't a dad, and now that you are, like, what part of you is going to be shared with her. Like, that's the thing with my dad. Like, if I had him around, how much would he even share anyway? Like, my mom doesn't share a ton about like what it was like growing up, and she's here and I talk to her all the time, but it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I see sometimes people being like really close with their parents, and I always kind of love that.
I mean, my mom passed away in 2016. And now, having a daughter, she never got to meet Natalie, obviously. But there's times I wish I could just like pick up the phone and be like, Mom, was I this big of a pain in the ass at 4? Like, I mean, my mom and I were super close. But yeah, I mean, with Natalie, she, like I mentioned countless times, we both work so much. So, I try, and my wife tries a lot to get her to come visit me here at the restaurant.
Yeah, to kind of see you in action. Yeah.
Especially during the summer. So like when she gets out of school, she comes and hangs out for a half an hour and runs around and terrorizes everybody while they're trying to get ready for work. But yeah, I mean, we do all those things that I think I'd like to, riding in the car, listening to songs, Sig Transit Gloria comes on sometimes, other friends' bands pop up. And, I think as she gets a little bit older, I think she'll have a better opportunity to understand.
Or understanding. Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's cool. That's one of the things that I love about my dad that I do have is that he used to listen to oldies in the car with us all the time. And so I love oldies, of course, now, and that's like pretty much all I listen to these days. I always kind of was an old soul, but I kind of attribute it to that. And so even though he's gone, there is a piece of him that I have. And that's a really special thing. And yeah, again, I'm not a dad yet, so I don't have an answer for all these things. So sorry if that was a little heavy, but just wondering. And it kind of dovetails into my last question for you.
Okay.
So there's an old saying that artists live forever because the art doesn't die. We do. Right. And you've made music that plays in the hearts of many, including this podcast host here, and nourished folks with the unique food experiences that you've given them. So what would you like your legacy to be after you're gone or not? Have you thought about that at all?
No, not too much. I mean, obviously legacy changes when you have a child. The minute we had her, I think my thoughts of myself shifted to just thoughts of creating and nourishing and helping develop a good human being. So, I mean, she's my legacy. Career-wise, art-wise, I don't really know. I mean, it's awesome to have that stuff. And there's certain people in our lives that will carry those things on forever and, they'll get passed down and all that fun stuff. Until they don't, career-wise, I don't know. I love what I do, and I just want everyone around me to know that's where any of this comes from, I mean, obviously it's a business and we need to make money and, all that stuff. But no, there's a level of passion, and I hope it comes through. I mean, we serve, 250, 260 people a night for, 7, maybe 6 months out of the year.
Wow.
I mean, it's a lot. So there's a lot of people that like I've never even met, but I might have impacted their lives in ways I don't know.
For sure. But that's the same with the music too.
Exactly.
There's probably people figure it and finding it now because of, again, like the DuPage County Hardcore or whatever it is. They're just like, whoa, this is a great band. They might not know you at all.
Exactly.
But now they're thinking about like the pillows that they can smell their girlfriend on after she just left, I mean, it's just, that's a beautiful thing about life and legacy. And I think a lot of people that I ask that question, a lot of our artists and stuff like that don't really, their answers are exactly like yours. Like it's kind of more about now, and what I do now matters. I feel like so many things are wrong about thinking about like if you're an artist being in a gallery, when you're gone 400 years, and because it doesn't matter. If you don't create great things now, you won't be there anyway. And so it's always about now, right?
Yeah. My wife's family's from Europe, so we take a vacation over there, once a year in the wintertime to go visit her folks. But we took our first mom and dad trip without the kid this year. And we took off to Rome for 4 days. And, we did all
romantic you.
We did all the we did all the touristy shit, Colosseum, and but we went to the Vatican, and I mean, if you're an art person at all, like, I used to hate going to the Art Institute of Chicago before the Modern Wing opened, because I was just like, oh, there's another picture of Jesus.
There's a lot of that,
and like the religious stuff never really played, too close to my heart. But when we went to the Vatican, I mean, obviously there's some stuff that's been reconstructed and, refinished and all this stuff, but like, you just see the scale and like the amount of preservation and the amount of work, like the amount of skill, from sculptors to painters to everything. There's even a huge art collection that the Vatican has collected throughout the years. Like there's Salvador Dali paintings in there. There's just like stuff you would not expect to be there.
I've never been at all in any of those regions of the world. I would love to. It sounds great.
But yeah, I mean, when you talk about legacy, like, some of those people are gone for hundreds and hundreds of years, but like every year there's millions of people going there to look at St. Peter's Basilica, which is like the most amazing building I've ever been in.
You know what's interesting to me as you say that, just as an aside, I mean, we were just at a Jim Jarmusch. Not sure. He's one of my favorite directors, and he's living in part of the New York scene of the Ramones and Andy Warhol and just a incredible artist that I've loved forever. And I got to meet him, and like that, to me, like his art that he had on the walls was important because it was from him, right? And sometimes it's like you could look at different things and think, oh, that's not great art or whatever, but it is about the people that make it, really, and their stories. And over time, as like the years and years go on, the Art Institute curates like a Vincent van Gogh thing, and you get to hear like, oh, he was in a mental institution and he died when he was 37. And now this like story is told through generations, excuse me, and it just becomes so like you have to have a Van Gogh because the story is so outrageous, and it's so great. And that's I kind of think that's kind of the legacy that like is not up to you, because that story, who knows how much of it's true and whatever.
Exactly. Well, there is a Van Gogh museum in Amsterdam. I've been there. The first time I went to Europe, I went there. You would love that. There's like journal entries from him. There's notes to and from his brother. I mean, it like basically chronicles the whole, period of time when, he was at his creative peak and then downfall. So I think, every story has its parts that were made up by somebody else. Yeah,
totally. I mean, and then like, Alkaline Trio sings "Every Verge to Van Gogh, Both My Ears." And it's like, okay, like now there's people screaming that in like at the Fireside Bowl in 1998, it's like, holy shit. Like who Van Gogh would have never thought that would be part of his legacy, but there it is. Yeah. Well, Nate, I got to tell you, man, next time we talk, we won't have the camera and the sound on, but I'm really grateful you let me do this and record it, because now this is part of history. And, not that we thought that it needed to be recorded, but I think it's important for people to hear stories like this from other artists so that they can have the inspiration and the excitement to keep going. I wish I had stuff like this when I was younger, because I've had many times in my life where I've just been like looking for answers or help, and like maybe just even hearing you talk about moving and overcoming that hurdle to be where you are today, I think is like so important for us to share that. So again, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
So good to see you. I miss you a whole lot. I'm so happy and excited for you and your art and your life in LA. And we're gonna have more talks rather than just passing texts.
I agree. And again, thanks for just talking to me in general. I'm glad that we have our friendship, and that way it's been this beautiful over time, and we will continue this. And I hope everybody that's listening gets to check out some Sig Transit Gloria and hear your music. And then we get maybe a reunion show in the future.
Yeah, maybe. And who knows if anyone heads out to Nantucket Island in Massachusetts, come look me up too. So.
Yeah, totally. Come get to the restaurant and have some of that good food. Yeah. Well, Nate, I hate to say goodbye because I'll miss you, but thanks for, again, sharing your time, and I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.
Awesome.
All right. See you, man.
Later, D.
Bye.
Bye.